How did you get your following?
Because my niche was already dressing the way I dress. That gives
really
me
helps them.
the buzz. But I think if it's a known person, I think it's a bit rude, to be honest.
I did all that sort of stuff.
I've done that.
Oh, I've never done that.
And my nan was the same with my mum. And my mum ended up seeing a hypnotherapist because my mum would eat everything on a plate. And I still have that mentality of like, I can't bear the waste. And even if I put it in a Tupperware and put it in the fridge, I still think that has to be.
So, my name's Deborah Aharoni, and welcome to our brand new podcast called The No Filtered Zone. So, fingers crossed that it's no filtered. There is no topic off limits. We can talk about anything that's relevant to us, aging, beauty, confidence, and influencers. So I am absolutely delighted and excited to introduce our two top influencers today. We have the fabulous Astrid Zegan and the equally fabulous Helen Walker. Hello.
Hello, so nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you. And I hear that you hadn't met until yesterday.
No, we've spoken a bit on our DMs, but no, that's our
slid into
first-
each other's DMs.
We did.
Yeah.
In the
For
first quite a while.
Actually, since you were starting out, really.
4 years I've been 4 and a bit. And you've
Only
been,
4 years?
Yeah.
And what about you, Helen?
10 years on and off, because I used to blog and then got into Instagram and then went off it and then came back into it about 2017, 2018.
Wow. Okay.
Aged. Maturing like a fine wine or
Yes,
cheese.
definitely not aged. Maturing.
matured.
Is about. So, and do you mind me asking your ages? I know it says on your Instagram, is it 54?
54, yeah.
And Astrid?
57, 58 this year.
51.
A mere chicken.
Oh, bless you. That actually makes me feel good. Thank you. But I'm catching up fast. So,
I think turning 50 is amazing. I hated turning 30. 40, I'd just given birth.
wow.
But I think 50 was an amazing time. And you kind of transition into, well, I don't know, a bit more confident.
Yeah, I'd say so. Definitely.
Was it the same for you turning 50?
Yeah, and I think more confident since I've done the Instagram. So I was probably in probably your age that I started my account.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Wow. Well, it's funny. I was just talking to one of the ladies when we had a cup of tea earlier, and she's 21. I mean, is she even allowed out on her own without her mother's permission? They're so young. And we were talking about aging, and I said, for me, 35 was like a smack in the chops with a brick.
Yeah.
And it was because I was putting so much pressure on myself. Oh, I should be with someone. I should be sorted in my career. I should have a house. It was all the should-haves.
Yeah. My eldest daughter's about to turn 30 and she's panicking about that
Right.
milestone.
And what's your advice to her?
Don't panic. I just enjoy it. I mean, it's just a year, isn't it? It's just a
And it gets
number.
better. The only time I ever think, oh, would you like to turn back time, is if I had the knowledge and the feeling that I've got now. And it's counterintuitive, but being on Instagram, because you force yourself into doing things that are a little bit out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
It gives
Like what?
it gives you a good kick up the bum. Well, for example, I've done not many, but I showed myself in a bikini.
Okay.
And
Brave.
well, it's not brave though, is it really?
It shouldn't be. But it is.
I wouldn't have done that in my 20s. But I think the younger people today, sounding very old and sage-like, are more confident though because of this new age of social media that we're living in. Either that or it goes the other way and it can really mess with people.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain way to look, particularly in your 20s and 30s, which when we're our age, you can get over that and you have your own identity, don't you?
And there's
Certainly,
no
like
photos
Astrid.
of it. When
And
I was
also as well,
that
I
age.
think people like to see you, they like to see you in your pretty outfits and looking great, but they also like to see the real filter
Unfiltered.
free. So like this morning I did a bit of filming in the hotel room. I'd literally woken up and I was like,
Wow.
and I've done some filming and looking literally like I had just got out of bed. I haven't made the reel yet, but I will, and I'll put it up and it'll either do really badly or people will like it because it's not how they normally would see me. So a bit of reality thrown in as well.
Well, it's funny you said reality because there's all this inclusivity now. So body confidence for younger people. I did a shoot a few months ago where there was me, There was a woman of about 65. There was a plus size model. There was an alternative model with piercings. There was a gorgeous black girl. It was like something for everybody. And they didn't tell me before the job that it was going to be in underwear. So that was a shock. Thanks, agency.
But you just have to go for it.
Yeah.
We've all got bodies. We've all got skin. We're all fantastic.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether you've got scars or stretch marks or cellulite. Every woman's got cellulite. And I think the more real you can get, the better it is for everybody. And I've recently started following an account. Don't ask me the name. I'm useless with names. And she literally does an Instagram shot and then a couple of minutes later, not posing for Instagram. And the difference is immense.
Wow.
And I always say to people when they say, oh, you look so good in X, Y, and Z. And I say, yeah, but I know how to pose. I've been doing it long enough. And that's not what you really look like.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not.
Hence the reason when you did I've just woken up in the morning looking like I've been run over by a truck. Yeah. Well, that's me, probably not you.
So it was from the minute I got up to finishing my makeup and walking out the door. I looked a little bit better after, but it took me a little while to kind of open my eyes. But yeah, I think, and then ones I've done where I was, when you get that off, when you open your phone and you're looking down and it's taken a picture of yourself.
Oh, they do well.
They do so well.
Do they?
Yes.
They do well.
That's what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I'm going wrong.
I was leaning over my sun lounger like that and my phone went off and I was like, whoa. And I thought, I should pop that up. And people love that stuff.
And the more you do Instagram, the more there's many accounts on Instagram that are perfectly curated, never a bad image, always the right lighting, beautiful shots, usually the travel bloggers, which are so annoying. But then I think it's nice to have a mix, and your followers will either like it or not. But the ideal about Instagram, it's like having a magazine that you can completely curate yourself. So if you get fed up of somebody or you feel that they intimidate you or you feel bad after looking at their content, you can just mute them or get rid of them. You can choose not to follow. You can choose to follow or unfollow or block, whatever you want to do, no matter how. It's you and it's a personal thing.
And I guess people follow you partly because you're aspirational, but partly because you're realistic. So there's that real mix.
Yeah.
Do you think?
It's keeping it real, isn't it?
And then the people like to be nosy. They like to nose into your life and what did you eat and where did you get your rug from? Or you could post a picture of something in the room, you in a setting, and then there's something in the background. People go, where did you get your doorstop from?
Wow.
Or
you've got
can
a
I buy
peanut
your smelly slippers off you?
You've got a doorstop like Peanut.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the dog.
Yeah.
Peanut's the dog, by the way.
Yeah,
okay.
the dog. Yeah.
It's a very cute dog.
People, obviously, like I just said, people see things that you didn't want to be in the shop and ask if they can buy them from you.
Wow.
Like old slippers and things like that. Yeah.
Do you even remember where they're from?
Well, they don't care. They just want, this is filter free, isn't it? They just want to buy your old slippers. It's the thing.
People with foot fetishes.
Yeah.
Can I have a photo of,
can I have a photo of your feet?
Yeah.
I had one once and he said to me, I said, morning, Helen, flip-flops today.
Wow.
And but I've got male followers that regularly always say nice things, but they are respectful. And as long as they turn up, and I know they follow a few accounts like me.
Yeah.
And they obviously like the older bird.
Excellent.
It's fine. As long as they're respectful, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah. So tell me how you got started. Who wants to go first?
You can go first.
Helen, how did
So
you
I
get
was
started?
blogging. Everybody went onto Instagram. Then I took a break, foolishly.
But blogging what?
Fashion. I was fashion 40-ish back in the day because I followed Does My Bum Look 40, Cat Farmer. I followed Cat.
Fantastic name.
Initially. And then we got together a couple of times with some other bloggers. Some are still blogging, some are not. And then everybody seemed to slide over to Instagram. And then I took a break, and everybody else sort of took off.
Okay.
So I had some catching up to do when I revisited Instagram and just started doing very simple selfies. That's what everybody used to do. It was just outfit sharing. Yeah. And that's what ladies like me were doing. And it was just taking a selfie in the mirror, usually obscuring your face.
Okay.
And they do really well, and they still do really well. Posts like that still do exceptionally well for an awful lot of Instagrammers and influencers. And then you break out into going outside and doing a few more editorial style shots. And then ultimately, how I feel now is I have become my own boss, and I'm my own editor, director, model and photographer.
Wow.
And everything is done on an iPhone, and everything is edited just on a simple editing app on an iMac or on the phone. And then we branched out into Reels because everything got a lot more complicated.
Okay.
And now it's completely changed from its original form.
Okay. And how did you find out what worked and what didn't? And how did you get your following?
Because my niche was already dressing the way I dress, simple ideas, a bit like I go onto Pinterest or Instagram, and if I see an outfit and I think I've got a similar jacket or similar pair of shoes or whatever, I'll save it. And then because I have no imagination, I then...
That can't be true.
And then I build an outfit and blatantly copy ideas. And that's what people are using me for as well. And it's kind of...
Everyone's sharing.
It's like a bit of a tennis match where you share this, you share that. I saved Astrid's. I love Astrid when she gets her jeans on. I bought my Citizens of Humanity because of Astrid. Okay. And when she gets a blazer, nobody does a blazer and jeans quite like Astrid. You should wear them more often.
I thought I'd be a heat wave today.
And that's it's as simple as that. But I try and stick to that niche because that's what my followers are after.
Yeah. So Astrid, how did you get started?
I had an Instagram account, but it was more, I didn't really understand it.
That's
and
me.
And my daughters had one. I thought, oh yeah, and it was the odd picture of my feet, or not in a weird way.
Back to feet again.
Just, or my jewelry, or my dog, or whatever. And it was maybe once every 6 weeks I'd put something up, and then I wouldn't even write anything. I just put a picture up and think, oh, I've got 2 likes. And then I went for a coffee with a friend, and I turned up, and she said, "Are you not on Instagram yet?" And I went, "Well, yeah, I've got this account." She went, "No, I mean, you're not on Instagram yet. You need to do it." And she said, "Look at the way your house is great." She said, "You just need to kind of find." And I went, "Okay." So I went home and I said to my daughters, "I'm going to open an Instagram account." And they both went, rolled their eyes.
Mum's so embarrassing.
Yeah. And I said, "What should I make my first picture?" And they said, "Oh, maybe a couple of your necklaces." I was like, "Oh." I said, "What about this one of me on holiday?" No, they thought I wouldn't stick with it. Anyway, so from the day that friend said to me, "Do it," I've posted every single day, apart from 2 days when I lost my dog. But apart from that, I've done every day, at a regular slot time every day, sometimes twice a day, and never looked back, and just became a little bit obsessed, or maybe just obsessed, not even a little bit. Just
but you're holding your hands up to it.
Yeah, because I think it's the job I was meant to do, but I never knew, because I would get changed 4 or 5 times a day just to try stuff on, or not. Probably when I was younger, I'd visit my dad and he'd say, "Why have you changed again?" And I'd just go, "Well,
why not?"
So now I can dress up. And like Helen, I'm my own boss. I've just got my tripod mainly. My husband's very good. He gets involved quite a bit. Bless. But you end up being the model, the stylist, the director, and editor, it's just really good fun. You get to do stuff like this. You get to travel to places you've not been and meet people you didn't know. I've made so many friends. And I don't think I definitely, when we moved to Devon 4 years ago, I didn't think I'd just be doing this. I thought I'd have to carry on doing.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you both have previous jobs?
I did. I was in hospitality all my life, running around like a
What kind of hospitality?
I was working in restaurants and bars and managing staff and on my feet all day, working every Christmas, every Valentine's, every New Year's Eve. So I was so glad to get out of that.
Wow.
And the organisational skills clearly paid off because you have to be organised doing this.
Yeah, you do.
You have to have an itinerary. We don't just rock up and do not randomly. No, it's quite a lot of planning. Although sometimes it's just, I'm going to wear this today and I'll just do a quick reel, get ready with me, bosh, 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 done.
Yeah.
But there's quite a lot of planning. And now I'm very pleased that I can work with brands like Azio and clothing brands, and not all the time. I think it's good to mix it up. Otherwise, you just look like an advertorial, and I don't just want to be an advertorial. I want to keep it real, and also want to show people that I do wear and rewear anything that I'm sent or anything that I buy, and. You sort of have to pitch it right so that it's not just, oh, look at me, I'm here this week, I'm there next week, and oh, I'm wearing all this fantastic stuff all the time. It's all completely gifted.
Comes in.
Right.
Yeah.
It's getting the balance so that it's not, you don't want to come across as grabby, do you?
And you turn stuff down, but you also, at the end of the day, it's my job and it's earning me a living, and it's now I've been able to save to have wardrobes built, which is amazing, to put some of the clothes
How exciting.
But and just...
I don't think of it... Job is a crap word, isn't it? Because it's not a job. It's not exactly a vocation
it's a
either.
Lifestyle?
It's something in between that, because I think sometimes when you say, oh, it's my job, it can turn a lot of people off.
Yeah.
Because they'll see it as you're not the same enthusiastic, innocent sort of person that you were to start with. Well, that's absolutely not the case, because you do, I think Astrid and I have a lot of integrity. You have to have, otherwise people will see through you, you know? So it's a job is a bad word, but we do get paid, but we also do a lot of work and spend a lot of time that's not paid.
Yeah, right.
Doing
Absolutely.
it as well.
Yeah.
So we're not just doing it for that.
The bigger brands have got a budget.
Yeah.
And the young startup ones who might be making hairbands and really want to see in one of their hairbands, you do those things as well because you want to help them out.
Yeah. And you don't charge, obviously. And little jewellery brands and things I particularly love. And people who are... There's a lot of women out there on Instagram as well with Instagram businesses, and they rely on people like us giving them a shout out. And it's amazing how I'm always so chuffed. I love getting feedback, and you do too, Dave. We were talking about this last night. If they say, oh, you modelled that bag and I've sold 10, and you just think that gives really me the buzz more than just being gifted it.
Yeah.
That gives me the buzz.
Yeah.
And we choose items that we like. We wouldn't really go for something that some items, as we were saying, I'll be perfectly honest, some items you think, oh, right, how am I going to make that work? Because that's not something I'd normally wear, but it's part of a set that this brand want me to promote. So then you style it up your own way. And I think some brands that may be traditionally seen as maybe an older ladies brand, they want us to show, actually, you can wear it this way.
And look cool.
If you put this shoe with it, or this jacket, or if you wear a scarf with it, actually, you can make it look a lot more edgy. Because quite often, and I do think brands let themselves down, sorry brands, with their websites.
Right.
They do look a bit CNA 1985.
I still remember CNA.
Yeah. It's a bad memory.
Chelsea girl.
Yeah. No, but CNA. You remember
CNA. It's not pointing.
Yes.
There's lots of models just pointing randomly.
Yeah.
And so you were a blogger beforehand. Did you do anything before that, before blogging was a thing?
Yeah, I worked, my husband and I had a used car sales business, and I did the administration, which was incredibly boring. And I kept doing that, but we sold the business last year, thank God. And before that I was in... we had a period where we ran a boutique because unfortunately we lost his mum, and she had a ladies' boutique, which was sort of mid-range women's wear, which was lovely. So we took over the buying, but we decided to let that business go because it was untenable to run two businesses. And it was the time of the crash in 2008.
Okay.
So we decided to let the business go, which was a shame because it was a fantastic boutique. And I loved the buying and styling women. And I think that's why Instagram's easy for me, because I like to be able to put stuff together on different women and say, that you need this and that with it. But before that, I was in finance. I was a senior mortgage advisor and financial advisor.
I got Helen, you've done everything.
Sort of.
Wow.
Well, I was running around serving people.
But working
We're both
till
running
all
around.
the time.
Yeah, working at Saturdays, working till 9 o'clock at night. And before that, I used to work in hotels and did bar work and
So we've all been in hospitality.
Yeah.
So I was working till 8 last night. So we've all been there. We've all done it.
Yeah.
And it's what you make it. But now, actually, Instagram fills time massively. I don't know about you, Astrid.
Yeah.
We had a quick chat about this because we were like, come on then, fess up.
Let's hear
many
it.
hours?
Well, it comes up on my, screen time once a week. and I'm averaging about 11 and a half hours a day. I know. I mean, I don't think you have to do that if you want to be successful. I just do because I like it and I find that's what works for me. And it doesn't feel like that. I don't, at the end of the day, think, wow, I've been on my phone all day. But I guess I must be.
But you probably are.
Yeah, I probably am.
Do you know how long you're on it?
I haven't looked at my figures lately. Okay. I mean, it's first thing in the morning, and I've recently got my husband into Instagram, and he's just scrolling more than I am in the morning. I'm working, he's scrolling, so I'm probably bob on for an hour or so, depending if I'm posting, because I never do any of this scheduled posting. I do it there and then in the moment. But I wore myself out because I was posting twice a day, and I thought, Helen, you silly bugger. But I was really on a roll because I don't know about you, but when I've done a reel, I want to post it.
You're excited.
It's really weird. And then when it's posted, you're like, oh, that's done then. On to the next thing. The enjoyment for me quite often is the process. The filming, the editing.
Oh.
Because that's the creative. Because I also studied art and fashion at college.
Wow. Okay.
Did you?
Yeah. You can tell.
And that's the start of it. It's the creative. It's my creative outlet, and it's yours, isn't it? And then also, the way that you dress and you style yourself. It's that creation meets technology.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I have a real love-hate relationship with iPhones and technology, but my goodness, I couldn't be without it for what I do.
Did you ever think when you were, 20 or 30, and these kind of jobs didn't even exist, that this is how you'd be making a living?
Absolutely not.
No. It's phenomenal, because now you get lots of little kids going, I want to be an influencer. But I tried to explain to my parents what an influencer was. I mean, bless them. My mum's just turned 80. And they looked at me like I was an alien. Like,
I've had my mum involved in mine. She's quite, well, they're quite funny when she's, and people love to see other members of your family getting involved. But no, like I said, 4.5 years old, I remember thinking, why does everybody write all these hashtags? What is all that about?
Yeah, it is a bizarre thing.
Yeah, no, but I think it was the job. I think it was the job I was meant to be in.
It sounds like
it. Or doing what I wanted to do.
It's wonderful. So. And I think you have to give yourself some credit. And I have to stop and think sometimes, because to us it's fairly easy. But to so many, it's like, how do you do that? Because we're so used to doing it, which is why I sometimes, I'll try my best to coach people, because some people don't know how to find your stories. They don't know how to look on a highlight. They don't know how to navigate Instagram. My husband, and the thing that made me realise it was when Phil, my husband, went onto Instagram. He was really struggling. How do I find your stories then, Helen? Yeah. And I had to show it. And, looking at his Instagram, I was like, and I really had to think about what to do, because it wasn't my page.
And it's
Honestly, I was like, well, you need to press this, you need to go to the home, and then you need to do this. And I thought, gosh, it isn't easy.
No.
So a lot of the content that we do, a lot of the information and side information that we give is missed. And that's frustrating sometimes for me, especially if they don't read the caption, because then you get, where are your jeans from? And you think,
you're like, I've put it.
It's in the caption. And I've tagged it, and it's in the caption, and it's on stories. But I don't mind
I can't
that.
find your story. How do I do that? So they did. Because they're people that are using it just to have a look. They haven't necessarily got an account that is active.
Yeah.
So they'll just say, oh, I look for your picture, post every day. But they don't understand.
Yeah, they're the nosy ones that are just having a look.
Yeah. And my husband's got a small account. He mainly does pictures of cars and motorbikes. Really dull. But he
not if you like cars and motorbikes.
And I'll say to him, you need to write something and put some hashtags. Oh, I just want to put the picture up. I said, yeah, but no one's going to see it.
Yeah.
If you want people to see it, they're not going to necessarily see it that way.
And connect with like-minded people who like the car or the motorbike. Yeah.
See, but you do make it sound really, really easy. I probably got on it about 8 or 9 years ago, because I was speaking to a much younger model. And she said, what do you mean you're not on Instagram? But you're a model. You deal in images. And I was like, no, I haven't. I'm on Facebook. Can use WhatsApp. I'm not technophobic, but I don't really know about social media. And she was horrified. So she popped me on there, but I have to admit, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Well, and also it's so, you stick to your niche, but it's also so much more than just clothes for me and for Astrid, because we're also, I think we're very open, and I think that's another, it's not a USP in any way, but I think it's helpful. I mean, my issues recently was because I used to have hair extensions because I've got very fine hair, and I took them all out very recently.
Right.
Had a bit of a breakdown. I've had a bit of a wobble on Instagram because obviously hair is a big thing for women. And the amount of, that's just one thing. And then also there's menopause, there's changing any diets because I've also done a different diet plan, and then there's exercise, and then there's travel. Astrid does travel.
Oh, I want to hear everything.
And then I did one on the story of my dog getting ill.
Yeah.
And then my hearing aids that I've got, people were really, really interested in that.
Wow.
So and you think you're just putting something up and saying, I'm going to have my hearing test today and I need hearing aids. And people are like, whoa. And you just get all these people that want to ask about it.
But it's because you're resonating with other people of a similar age, and we're all having the same problems, but nobody...
Or they're embarrassed to talk about it, and as soon as someone else talks about it, they all want, and they won't necessarily message on the main feed of other people. They'll message you privately and go, "Oh, I'm too embarrassed because I need to do that too," or "I'm suffering because of this, and thank you, you've made me go." And so it is a really nice feeling.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I get loads of advice.
Honestly,
from my followers. Well, taking the hair thing for an example.
Right.
Oh, there's follow this woman, or this product's brilliant, or book in with Philip Kingsley for a trichologist. Don't do this. Collagen works. Amazing. Collagen doesn't work. And it's all linked in with.
So you're helping them and they're helping you.
Yeah, they do. It's the feedback. Sometimes some days, last week I didn't post because I didn't have time, because I was so busy reading and investigating things that they'd sent to me. So it can be really powerful. And particularly now, I know it's become a bit of a bandwagon, the menopause.
Completely.
But it's a thing that a lot of people are having a huge conundrum about.
Yeah.
And you just also give what you can with regard to that, because even if you're not our age, I've got friends that started the menopause in their late 30s. And I would say our demographic is probably 30 to 80.
Okay, it's quite wide.
Yeah, it is. It's a big, I've got a core around, I think it's 40 to 55.
Okay.
I'm nearly over that hill now. So I've got a core, but then I've got lots of ladies that are older and younger. So you pick out what's relevant. But
and are you in the menopause? You're in it right now?
Yeah, well, a lot of 10 years.
Wow.
See, one of my followers said to me, "You don't go into it and come out of it, Helen.
No,
you go into it and then you're in it, because you never get those hormones back." So it's navigating.
That's a very good point.
And I'm looking. I'm the sort of person, I'm very, very curious, and I want to find out things. So I listen to a lot of podcasts, and if I hear something really good or read something really good, I will put it out there on my stories. That's what your stories are for. And you're the same, aren't you, Astrid? Your stories are more, it's about you, it's a bit more personal. It's not necessarily just about what you're wearing or where you're going on holiday. It's about things that affect you, and it might help other people. Like Astrid, I mean, that's just so exceptionally good with your eyesight, with your hearing. Because then they say, "Oh well, look at Astrid."
Yeah,
Astrid.
Yeah,
I did a post.
She doesn't really get down.
I would. It was all the things I had to do that morning, and it was put my HRT patch on, put my eye drops in, put my hearing aids in, put my glasses on.
Yeah,
and it was just.
That's your get ready with me. That's your next reel.
And I look forward to these. I have used the hearing aids and a couple of get readies with me. It's like, oh, here they are.
Yeah.
But people just can really relate to those things that are happening. I mean, I have talked about the menopause, but not in a massive way.
No. How has it affected you? If you don't mind talking about it.
No, I don't. It's I'd basically gone in for an emergency hysterectomy 10 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
And I had some fibroids, and I'd gone anemic because I was losing so much blood. So but nobody explained to me pre-operation that I could go into this awful early menopause almost overnight, which is what happened. I'd never researched menopause, didn't even know. I mean, I suppose I should have known, but I didn't. And I remember waking up to the operation, going home and having the worst 2 weeks of my life, thinking it was from the anaesthetic come down and the operation. And I remember going back for my checkup and sitting in the chair, crying, saying, I'm not getting any sleep. Every time I go to sleep, it was like a switch went off when I went to sleep, like someone had thrown 3 buckets of water over me. So I was sleeping on towels, changing the sheets all night. So then they said, oh, we think your ovaries have gone into shock. You've gone into early menopause. So I did get put on HRT and I'm still on it.
Same.
And I still get I think other things happen during the menopause, like I can't drink wine anymore because it makes me feel really bad.
I mean, that's me anyway.
And it makes my heart race and it makes me get the hot flushes. So if I start to avoid those things that make it worse, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But it just seems that 10 years on, I'm still there.
In the thick of it.
But I'm not getting those horrible, I mean, that was the worst 2 weeks of my life, I have to say.
But
no one
10 years ago, people didn't talk about it. Like, I mean, now it's a hot topic, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't get overkill, because then I think sometimes people get fed up of it. If it's not relevant to them, it's like anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think every so often, it's sort of slipping into conversation as a reminder that it's like with the thinning hair. Yeah. I've always had thin hair, but I don't think menopause has helped. I've got through or getting through menopause without too many hiccups, I think.
Okay.
But I don't, you don't know because I've not had blood work done or anything recently. But I'm lucky enough to not have had hot flushes and things. But there are other issues, certainly brain fog and forgetfulness. Is it convenient to blame menopause for everything and the dog? I don't know. But,
maybe not the dog.
But it is something that needs to be spoken about. So there's no taboos.
No,
at
absolutely.
all.
Well, I have endometriosis. Again, ridiculously common. And I've heard that it takes 8 years on average to diagnose, which I think is quite shocking. But I'm on a 3-monthly injection that switches everything off. So your body thinks it's in the menopause.
Right.
Because there's no natural hormones anymore. So that was 10 years ago. I was 40, 41. So I started getting the hot flushes and the night sweats. And very quickly I went to the doctor and they said, okay, we'll put you on HRT. But I have had people saying to me, oh, HRT, there's increased risks of certain things. And I go, well, let me have a think. Chronic pain, my injection and HRT.
Yeah.
Which would you choose?
But I think that even if they'd said to me, pre-operation, this could happen to you, I would still have had the operation because I didn't have any quality of life.
Yeah.
But I wish I'd known a bit more about when I woke up that next day.
What was happening?
Yeah.
They should have really told you.
The menopause. Yeah. Also, I think, I'm not going to go on about it too much, but I also think for menopause, I think it's important to look at diet because certain processed foods and seed oils are really bad. And I've just recently been to see a lady, I'll give you her details afterwards, who does sort of therapies that help massively with grounding, and it's certain sort of yoga processes that can help with the rebalance, because a lot of women who suffer badly with the menopause, it can be something to do with past trauma, even stuff that you've not even thought about, whether you've been through a divorce or you were bullied or something happened, bad job, anything. It's amazing how certain things can be seeded in your mind and in your psyche. And it sounds a little bit hocus pocus, but a lot of these things do. But a lot of these things do actually work because they're going back to how the ancients would have healed themselves before pills and potions.
Yeah.
And I think it's always, if you can find alternatives as well as either to complement or maybe to blast it out of the water, it's always worth looking into. Absolutely. That is why always have an inquiring mind. Always look at alternatives.
Definitely.
Always get second opinions. Always ask your friends. And with the wonder of Instagram, ask your Instagrammers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what advice did they give you about, for example, your hearing, or what have you done? How do you feel about having hearing aids?
Well, my dad has them and he can never fucking hear. Sorry.
That's fine. Remember, it's a no filter
zone. He still
zone.
can't hear me.
Selective hearing.
Because he I mean, I won't go into it, but he still can't hear me because he doesn't clean them properly and he doesn't turn them up properly and he's always tapping them and doing stuff and he's always doing that, can't hear you. And I thought, I can't bear it. Then my mum got some.
Right.
And she got the same as I've got. And she just kept saying, it's changed my life. And she said, you can't see them and I wouldn't be without them. And I said, because I found myself kind of leaning towards people or just saying all the time, I didn't hear you. And I thought, I'm driving people insane. And I went on holiday with my daughter in February. And that was when I thought I need to do something about this, because she does talk quite quietly. And I did find yesterday I still couldn't particularly hear her, but I don't think it was me because I had them in. But I came back from that week's holiday and I thought, she must have wanted to punch me because she couldn't hear a word I said. So I went and had a hearing test, and I'd had one about a year ago, and they'd said to me, you're kind of on the cusp, you're just missing certain pitches, but if you think you're okay. And I said, no, I think I'm okay. So I went back. They said they have got worse, and they put you through in this booth, and they do all these bleepy things, and then they play this conversation, and they say, pick out the American accent. And there's all these things going on in the background, people pouring drinks and other people shouting, and you have to repeat what they've said back. And so they do these 5 different sentences. So the first sentence, you could hear everything. Second one, by the time you got to the third, you were missing 2 or 3 of the words. So then your brain is trying to work out what those words were, but then you miss the end of the conversation because you're trying to think of the words. Yeah. And by the 4th or 5th conversation, you don't hear it. And he said, what's happening is you'll be in a group setting, and in the end you'll switch off because you're missing too many words, and you'll just sit and not speak, which is what was happening. I'd go out and I'd be not joining in. So
Depressing.
I thought, I've just got to do it. And so many of my followers have now gone. Penny, a friend of both of ours, she said, I had hearing aids. I was too embarrassed to wear them. She's gone back. She had 1. She now needs 2, and she's now got them 2.
She's got the same.
Yeah. They're not the same as mine, but she's got some because she had them from before. She had 1 from before, so they've just
tweaked it.
Yeah, and I just think so many people have said, you've made me go and have my hearing. I said, it's not. I think most hearing places don't charge you to have your hearing test done.
Okay.
So go and just see.
Yeah.
And when you do it, they'll give a trial where they'll set them, and then they told me they put them in, and they said, go for a walk outside and tell me. And I was just like,
yeah.
And if you can just help other people,
one or 2 people, if you can just change 1 or 2, I mean, it is, and if it's life changing, it's the thing. It's similarly, I mean, rather vainly, but similarly, when I went to Dr. I had to have nose filler and a bit of lip filler, and to me, it changed something that I'd always been disgruntled about, very subtly.
Yeah.
And the response I got from that as well. Oh, thank you for talking about it. Yeah, and people were like, I had no idea you could change your nose shape without going under the knife.
Nose job.
Yeah, 15 minutes and it's done. Other things I've had done, my dentist shaved my teeth a little bit to even them. Yeah. I didn't know you could do that. It's literally like shaving them down.
Invisalign, and people are really keen to know about that.
Yeah.
And then my dry eyes, people are like, I've got dry eyes, but my eyes are runny. Why are your eyes not runny? And I didn't know if you had dry eyes, your eyes water. I just shit. Yeah.
No, I didn't.
That happens. And then everybody's interested in that because they've all got these issues that they maybe don't have a platform to talk about it on, but they're looking at yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you said, you get lots of try these drops. You should do that. Yeah. Try those herbal remedies or whatever.
And it comes from such a place of loveliness. In today's world where there's an awful lot of division and hate and people angry and disgruntled. Yeah. I don't know if you've noticed it when you're driving around.
Well, I came off Twitter many years ago because it was just...
Well, TikTok's a bit
just
like
horrible.
Yeah, it's a bit. It is. It's feeding division when really everybody should be accepting and coming together.
Yeah.
And I feel that we were like that a few years ago, but it's like a hornet's nest that's being poked unnecessarily, that is creating disturbance in our lives and in our world. And I think Instagram is my safe creative place. I keep away. You have to be so careful because sometimes people will have a go at you because they'll say, why aren't you using your platform for X, Y, and Z? Because I have opinions, but I don't want to express them on here because I don't want to upset anyone or my followers. Want to be
political.
This is not the space for that. Yeah. It's not Twitter. I have a private Twitter account where if I want to, express how I feel, but Instagram for me is not that place. Yeah. But it is getting overtaken a bit like TikTok with those sorts of things. It's fine, but some people want that from Instagram. But for me, it's my creative space, and I'm quite
safe space.
I'm precious about it.
I'm probably more active on Facebook just because it's keeping in touch with friends.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would never know anybody's birthday if it wasn't for
Really for
Facebook.
that.
I mean, bless them just for that.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
would miss
That's so
every
true,
single
actually.
person's birthday, including my family. So
But I got
Yeah.
fed up with it a couple of years ago when it got a bit political and everything. And I just thought, I don't want to see this. And again, I've not really got time. I tend to concentrate on Instagram. I've got a TikTok account, which is the same name, but
I do a bit of TikTok. It was a Christmas before last, actually, and all of my kids and their boyfriends came over and they said, we should do that TikTok where you have to blow something across the table and you have to shout this rude word.
Oh, fabulous.
So we did it, and that was my first TikTok post, and it did quite well. And I thought, I can't remember.
Study, rein
I'd
it
have to
in.
have a look and remind you what the word was.
In it in.
I might stop
Pussy
stripping.
hole.
Pardon?
You have to go pussy hole. So as you breathe, it blows the ball across the table.
That is
And my husband's going,
genius.
I'm not doing that. And then when he got to the end, he really shouted it so loud, we all jumped out of our skins. So at the very end of the TikTok, he goes, pussy hole.
Oh,
I edit that bit out.
So no, please keep it in.
So then I just started posting quite regularly, but I'm not a big reader of what people have written.
Yeah.
And they're not so kind on TikTok. They never say you, they say she. She looks this, she looks that. So they're a bit mean on there.
That's a bit impersonal.
But I did have one that went viral, which was the freckle hack, which is where people were using root spray, when you can to cover your roots up.
Yeah.
They were using root spray to make freckles. And I thought, I'm going to give that a go. And I did it live. I filmed it and I used the one I filmed. So I didn't edit it at all, really, just to put the bits together. And as I was spraying, I was thinking, it's not really working. And of course, you've got to cover your eyes shut.
Oh, no.
And then as I sprayed the spray, it literally covered me. I looked like I'd been down a mine.
Yeah, she looked like a pit pony.
Yeah.
I must watch that one.
I don't like using the word viral, but it did
It
really,
took
really
off.
well.
It took
and
off.
then I ended up, Adam Kraskell, do you follow him on?
No.
Well, I didn't know he was either, but he's got like 4 million followers on Facebook, and he used it in one of his funny videos on Facebook, and then it ended up in the Sun magazine, I think. And someone said, have you seen yourself in the Sun magazine? I was like, no. So that was funny, and I think that kind of got me started on TikTok. But sometimes I'll just post the same thing, and if it's done really well on Instagram, it's not the same as putting it on TikTok. It sometimes doesn't do anything.
No.
So
That's kind of spooky, isn't it, though, that your content kind of went out of your control completely. Although it's very nice, but sometimes it's a bit cheeky.
They can use whatever you want if you put it out there.
They can use it.
Because I said I didn't know he was going to do that, and I wasn't tagged, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, well, this is it. You see, I think if you use somebody else's content within reason, although I've done it, I've whipped images off Pinterest, and sometimes you don't know who it is anyway.
That's different though.
Yeah, but I think if it's a known person, I think it's a bit rude, to be honest.
And apparently, when I knew someone who she works for Gratio actually, but I messaged her and I said, they've used my stuff in the Sun, and she said, oh, they can. There's nothing you can do about it. They can do what they like with it.
Copyrighted,
no. But no, so it's very different content for TikTok than it is for Instagram, I find.
But
it's
I think
fun.
It's like anything. I think if it's fun, do it. I've always maintained that, Instagram needs to be fun, which is why I think for me personally, when I took my hair extensions out, I thought, get over yourself, Helen. It's no biggie in the big scheme of things.
But it is for you.
But it was for me. And I kind of just had a lull. I didn't want to post. I didn't feel inspired at all. I felt downright miserable. Yeah. But I let people know that because I thought, and then if you're in the same boat as me, let me know how you feel, how it's affected you, and that's where you get a lot of the communication going on your private messages.
And how do you feel
then
now?
I feel better because I had so many words of encouragement. People like Astrid saying, "Oh, I like it just it's not me, but it And then if others see me styling it in a certain way or getting on with it and not letting it worry me, then again I've helped someone else who I know it can really affect your psyche.
What style makes you feel the most confident? Is it what you're wearing now?
It depends, you see. I thought it's going to be a scorcher of a day. I'm going to be walking around London. I'm going to be boiling. What can I pack in a bag that's not going to crease? Because, mind you, the hotel had ironing boards in our room. Did you notice that?
Yes, how ridiculous.
In every room.
Who's going to be ironing on holiday?
So I thought...
I don't iron.
But then
Me neither.
I would have come, if I'd have thought the weather wasn't going to be great, I would have come in the jeans, linen jacket.
Oh.
And I'd be really comfortable in that. Yesterday I felt, what have I worn? I wore a dress yesterday.
Okay.
And this morning I woke up and thought, I wish I'd just packed my jeans. I think if I put something on that I feel really good in the right surrounding, that's when I'd feel confident.
Okay.
So I don't think I picked the right thing.
Okay. So it's got to be temperature appropriate.
Yeah. And comfort.
I get that. Oh, God. Can we talk about big pants?
I mean, I'm just all about the comfort.
Same. I got beyond a certain age and I went, I don't want a bit of cheese wire up my bum cheeks. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. And I like big pants.
Right.
Big.
No, I'm a
thong
girl.
Big. Are you?
Yeah.
And Evie was yesterday because we went to Skims and she bought
I'm a thong girl.
I like a good boulder holder.
No, I don't
and
like big pants.
that might age me a lot, but I just got
do
to
like
the point.
pretty ones that kind of a bit more
but
Brazilian.
I'm a thong.
Oh, okay.
But I think, and I don't wear tight jeans, so I certainly wouldn't wear big pants and tight jeans.
Okay.
Or
But it's
trousers.
all about the comfort.
Do you do that?
Yes. I wear big pants all the time.
Right.
When I had to break that to an ex-boyfriend, that was a moment. Yeah. I was like, if you're thinking this underwear is going to be sexy, you need to think again because it's comfortable shoes, comfortable underwear, and getting away without wearing a bra when I can.
My bra comes off every single time I come home. Whip it
Same.
off.
First thing.
Off it goes, through the sleeve.
Yeah.
But I'm like you. I'm, and I think most of my followers know this. I'm definitely, it's a blazer and a jean. And then the weather appropriateness is boots.
Right.
Well, you go boots, winter, and then I'm brave with the sandals. It's the first time my feet have been out this year because really this time of year is trainer weather for me. And then it goes into sandals. And then obviously it's t-shirt, linen shirts. I've got loads of linen shirts and I don't iron them because everyone's like, oh, what about iron? I don't iron them. The scrunchier, the better.
Yeah.
And it's linen or t-shirts. And I'm going to buy some more waistcoats. I got these. This is recent, and I got one from last year. But I think they're just kind of quite handy, aren't they?
Yeah.
And blazers.
And I love a wide leg, long, floaty trouser.
Oh yes,
I'm all about that.
Yeah.
Some linen pants.
Yeah,
I've got some linen pants.
Any
They're
fashion
cool.
disasters from previous decades?
God.
What's the worst?
I used to make my own clothes.
Ooh,
and I remember I had one pattern that I just would make. And that's when I was kind of going my punk hippie era.
Love it.
And I made them in every colour and I had them in tartan and I'd make a matching neckerchief. So I'd have my tartan balloon trousers, my neckerchief, and I'd wander up and down the King's Road. I'd put patchouli oil perfume on so I'd look like I was actually on drugs. Thinking people would think, oh, she smokes weed, but actually I'm just wearing patchouli oil.
What was that other one from the Body Shop? White Musk.
White Musk.
White Musk. Yeah.
I remember White Musk.
Yeah. We all.
So I
had
don't
that.
know they're disasters, but I think I look back and I think I made them really badly. I mean, they're really thrown together on the same thing.
You must have gone into our souls on the King's Road then.
I got my first cowboy boots in there.
What year?
Gosh.
Mine were 1988. I forced my then boyfriend to go right down to the King's Road. He was in a band and he had a gig. And I said, I want to go and get these boots.
1980.
Yeah. And I dragged him.
Grey.
Dragged him in a black. I've still got mine.
No, I don't.
Still with the segs in. Remember segs?
What's a seg?
Segs are those metal clips that you put on your heel.
So they make a noise.
Yeah. And stop your heels wearing down.
Yeah.
Genius.
And I remember my mum saying to me, right, we need to get you a school coat. And I went, we need to go to the King's Road. She went, no. And I said, yes, because it wasn't a John Lewis then. What was it? There used to be at the bottom of the King's Road. It's a big department.
Peter Jones. I did a fashion show in there.
Okay, we'll go to, I said, as long as it's on the King's Road, I don't care. So we got myself a gabardine school mat with the tartan lining from Peter Jones and the King's Road. And I tell everyone at school
that you got it from the King's Road.
Yeah. And I used to go to jumble sales and buy my school uniform was daffodil yellow and navy blue.
What?
So I'd buy white shirts at the jumble sale and dye them yellow, and I'd buy mohair knitwear and dye it navy blue, and make my own skirts and go to school, and everyone would. Well, I mean, I never got bullied. I must have been the standout person.
I think because I had a friend who was really into Boy George, and Helen, I mean, she's now, bless her, if Helen watches this, I mean, she does podcasts. She's a journalist based in London. She's brilliant. And she turned up at my house and honestly, she looked like Boy George. It was fantastic. And Mum was like, oh my God. I said, that's Helen, that's my friend. And no, people were unsure. Yeah. It's like this uncertainty because you're different. I was never so I didn't sort of stand out, and I wasn't too alternative, but I definitely went through the crimped hair, monkey boots, tights,
toy wheel
cut off.
Yes.
We were goths. We were very into. We used to go to, at the time I lived in Nottingham, and there was loads of they'd call them vintage shops now, but secondhand shops.
I was in Leicester, and there were loads. Yeah,
well, Helen went to Leicester Uni.
Oh, I went to De Montfort.
Yeah. Yeah,
fabulous. I love Leicester.
What band did I see there? I think it was The Mission or something.
Ooh,
and there was
cool.
Sisters of Mercy and Gay Bikers on Acid.
I've never heard of them, but they sound great.
Nirvana. I'm always very proud of seeing Nirvana.
You saw the real Nirvana?
Tramp Polly, yeah.
Oh my God.
It was the most amazing gig. And they were not huge then. I just remember somebody stage diving off the biggest amplifier you've ever seen. And I don't know whether he lived or died.
Yeah.
It was, people usually just get out the way, don't they, when you stage dive. So I saw Nirvana.
I've seen a tribute act recently, but I've never got to see the real Nirvana.
No, they were superb. And I went along not really knowing much about them because my boyfriend's brother at the time, Dave, and he's still, I'm still in touch with him, and he is still such into his music and alternative music. And he took me along, I went along, and just blown away. It was just one of those where I just stood and watched Kurt Cobain.
I'm so jealous.
So yeah, I also the sort of goth crimp hair, denims, more rips the better.
Too.
No,
I had pink hair, dreadlocks.
Fantastic.
Only
I see photos.
And I used to go to all these kind of peace festivals, and we'd all be naked, pretty much.
Oh, all right, okay.
We had teepees, we'd sit naked. I never did that.
Okay, me neither.
Went to Nudist Beach. I did all that sort of stuff.
I've done that.
Oh, I've never done that.
But no, I've kind of done a bit. But I think in my teenage years was quite a loner and just kind of had a really cool boyfriend, and we just kind of did festivals and stuff like that. Yeah.
Ooh. Let it all hang out.
You were so cool.
You're still cool.
You're still cool. Yeah, you can tell you've had a fun life, and you intend to still have a fun life. It doesn't stop in your 50s.
No,
that's the
Some
point.
of these kids that are, it sort of grieves me that they're wandering about looking like ghosts of themselves, wearing sportswear and on their phones all the time, and you just think, va-va-boom. But you can't tell them, they'll learn for themselves.
And then I guess you guys can't really say, well, you need to get off your phones because,
exactly.
How you make your living.
They always say to me, right, we're having food now, just put your phone away. And then I put my phone away, and then I get there, I was like, oh, hold on a minute.
Yeah. But I think you're definitely formed, aren't you? Your formative years. And I think Instagram for me has kind of brought that back a little bit.
Second childhood.
Yeah.
Well, my dad's favourite saying is, I might have to grow up. No, I might have to grow old, but I never have to grow up.
No,
and he has lived by that.
Yeah.
You can always have a sense of humour. You can always have a sense of style. You can always have fun.
Yeah.
That doesn't stop just because you hit a certain age.
No, exactly.
And I find that with a lot of the youngsters that I work with, there's a lack of... You can really spot the ones that aren't comfortable in their own skin, that don't really know who they are. For me, one of the joys of getting older is you just kind of know who you are, and you're unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
Do you find that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I still have wobbles. I mean, I'm not super confident all the time. I can still, for even sort of like coming down to London, because I'm such a country bumpkin, I don't venture down that often anymore.
Okay.
It is a little bit unnerving because nobody says hello or smiles usually. I like to smile at people though, because
They
I think
you were mad.
They either think you're mad or they wonder what you're up to.
Yeah.
And also it's a free facelift. But honestly, it does. But you can see people sort of.
Well, like that.
I don't care.
I love it.
I don't care. It does. People do look at you though.
When I first moved to Devon, I was like, wow, these people are so friendly.
Yeah.
This is so nice. And then I remember visiting my daughters, and driving there, leaving Devon, and everyone lets you out, waves and oh hi, flashes at you, and then you arrived in Surrey, and it was like, oh God, people are beeping their horn as soon as you stop for a second,
swearing at you, doing a finger at you.
Yeah. And I remember coming to London, and I was with one of my daughters, and I saw this lady. She was obviously very drunk, and she was obviously living out of a suitcase, and she was sitting in one of these. It wasn't a wheelchair, but it was like wheels on a seat, and she was really drunk, and she went over the curb and she fell off this thing into the road. And I stopped and I said, Molly, we've got to pick her up. And Molly went, oh, I don't know. And I went, no one's going to help her. And people were just walking past her. And I helped her up and had to get her out. And she had I think she had a foot in plaster and a shoe in her hand, and she couldn't find her other shoe. And she was like, I'm fine. I went, you're not fine. You're on your back in the middle of the road, and helped her up. But people were just walking past. I just thought, if I hadn't have helped her, she'd
still be there now.
Humanity, yeah. Humanity. Well, people think that it's a scam, and sometimes it can be.
Yeah.
You know, but you just, again, it's instinct. Yeah. It's gut instinct. Go with your gut. You know, we've all got the ability to have a bit of intuition, and I think we've lost the ability a little bit over the last couple of years because we've been told what to do and we do it, sort of thing. Yeah. And I think we need to regain our ability to think for ourselves and do the right thing. Be a human.
Be human.
Yeah.
Well, that's obviously why you're such top influencers, because people are relating to the humanity as well as your personal style and your stories, and it's
AI can't replace us.
No.
AI is attempting, because I said to my stepdaughter, she's a beautician, and I said, well, you know, you're in the right job. And then lo and behold, on YouTube the other day, I saw it was a little snippet of this. They've got this 3D printing, but where you can just go, put your hand in, and your gel nails are done in 5 minutes.
Wow.
I know.
That'd be great.
I don't think I'd stick my hand in a machine, and I wouldn't let a machine cut my hair either. But
God, no.
it's
or drive
worrying.
my car.
No, definitely not cut my hair. I can look like a mullet. Car. If my layers are too short, I honestly look like Rod Stewart from the 70s.
Mullets good, they're in.
Yeah, they're in.
Well, they might be, Astrid, but I don't want one. So, yeah.
But it is worrying that you sort of think for kids now, it is troubling to think, what does the future hold? Because so many jobs are going to be taken over by artificial intelligence. And they even say that going into computers, which all these kids are brilliant at computers, that's not the industry to go in, because everything, again, is going to be running itself rather than needing a computer will be programming a computer rather than
by a human.
People coding it in the human old-fashioned way.
Crazy world.
It is. So when youngsters, younger people say, I want 45. To be an influencer, fill your boots.
Yeah.
You know, why not?
Well, my daughter said to me, oh, but look at all these things that people want you to do. And I went, yeah, but if you set your mind to it, you could do it. She said, yeah, but there's so many like me. She said, you know, I haven't got a wardrobe full of stuff. And I said, but you've got a lovely home. I said, you just have to be consistent.
I hate to think of people thinking, oh, look at them, charmed life, bored housewife. It's hard work.
It is hard work.
And especially if you're working with a brand, you have to fit a brief, and you have to fit a deadline, and you have to get your work approved. And if what you've produced isn't approved, you have to reshoot it or alter it. So, and a lot of people don't understand that. And I'm not, oh, woe is me. No. It's just a fact that, you know, don't think for 1 second that we're flippant about it, because we're very, very serious in a lot of ways. Yes, actually, we're enjoying ourselves, but we want to do the best for who we work for and for our audience.
I do remember now, one of your questions before, whether they can put this in the right place, I don't know, was when you saw your following suddenly go. Yeah. I remember getting a call on like a Wednesday night, or a DM from a lady called Anna Murphy, who's the editor of the fashion part of the Times, saying, would you mind if I feature you in an article tomorrow? And I was like, what do I need to do? She went, you don't need to do anything. Are you happy with that? And I was like, okay. I didn't know what the article was. Didn't know anything about it. She said, it'll definitely be online, but it could be in print as well. And then she messaged me, she said, yeah, it's going to be in print. So I got up at the crack of dawn, went to my local co-op to buy the Times, and it was, I can't remember how far into paper, but it was a 4-page spread on the top 20 50 pluses, so like the age group of 50.
Yeah.
And I was in there with Iris Apfel and some famous actors, and I was in there in a 2 or 3 outfit shots and a whole blurb about me in the Times, and I only knew about it the day before. And I was
Amazing.
like, so I remember running down, got back into bed with the paper, and I said to Simon, quickly just take a picture of me reading the Times. I was literally in my pajamas. And I posted that as my post going, I can't believe I'm in here. And I think that got me quite a lot of followers.
That's brilliant.
That's amazing.
And I bought every paper in the car that day. So I've got about 50 copies.
Devon.
That's brilliant.
There's not a single Times in the whole of Devon.
And she's the one that she's written a book since, and I was in her book too. So it was like, I feel quite special.
It's recognising that what you've done, they're pleased with it, and it's effective, and it's like happy relationships. And then if you're doing anything and you know that the relationship isn't working, then you sort things out, don't you? Yeah. And it's the same sort of thing. But getting recognition like that, especially with Iris, that's just brilliant.
I think people have a certain image of how you should look at 40, how you should look at 50, how you should behave at 40.
Have you ever Googled it?
But we don't fit into that.
Have you Googled it?
What, how you should behave at...
Yeah.
No, never.
Looks for over 40s, looks for over 50. Horrendous. Horrendous. But then years ago, I remember my mum, when she was in her 50s, she never wore jeans. She had, a selection of skirts and some sensible tops and jumpers and a couple of coats, boots, permed hair,
We were all there.
A country mile away from how I dress and how I look now.
It was funny because I put a picture up of my mum the other day.
Oh, did she?
And I was, and I was about 4, and I was sat on my cousin's shoulders.
I saw that one, the black and white one.
Yeah. So my mum had blonde hair like mine.
Yeah.
And people said, I thought that was you.
I thought that was you.
And so my dad, I remember my dad saying to me that he'd had an operation. No, he'd had an accident at work. He worked in a printing factory and it chopped the top of his finger off, and he got loads of compensation. And he said, when I got my compensation, we went shopping to the King's Road, and he said, and I bought your mum a leather jacket. I bought myself a leather jacket. We all had new shoes. You had a new dress. Your brother had this and that. And he was the one that was really into the clothes. So when I posted that picture, my dad got the right arse because everybody was saying, I see where you got your mum's style from. He was like, hold on a minute. It was me. My mum said, I didn't want my hair blonde. I didn't really like that leather jacket. I wanted a black one. Your dad maybe do it. But she is still really into her clothes. My younger brother is not, but my older brother definitely. We all have this big thing about clothes.
Literally in the genes.
And it's rubbed down onto my girls, and my girls are really now, and it'll just...
So they obviously were quite breaking the mould, I think, for in the main, because I think a lot of, when you look back at photographs,
quite sensible.
Well, and I remember being at school, when I was school, 12, 13, we didn't get bought an awful lot of clothes. You had certain jeans and a dress and a jumper. Remember jumper dresses?
That's why
and
I did jumble
boots.
sales.
Yes.
I'd make my clothes, or I'd go to jumble sales.
But didn't really. But it sort of kicked in for me when I went to college more. But when I was young, we didn't have the array of clothing that my daughter's got now. Mind you, there were not shops like Primark. It was Chelsea Girl, Miss Selfridge, and I think, or you went to Debenhams or John Lewis with your mum.
I loved it when H&M first, like Henny's and Maritz turned up. I was like, wow, this is so cool.
Yeah.
But it wasn't when we were, like my daughter's age, it wasn't early teens.
C&A and Chelsea Girl, my favourites.
Yeah, but really it was, and we didn't bother with much makeup. I remember using, do you remember Anne French cleansing milk?
Yes,
with cotton
very
pads.
well.
That's all I used, and
Brings
really,
back memory.
I mean, my daughter's cabinet has got more gunk in it than me because I use those products, and that's it. And she's got a product for this, product for that, all sorts. We didn't have that.
And they start using anti-wrinkle stuff at 15.
Tell me about it.
Well, I didn't even think of that at that age.
Which it's great, in some ways, but it's quite pricey, and that's every day it's a new lotion or potion.
Yeah.
This is going to help this is going to do
or
that.
new makeup.
Yeah. She knows more about it than I do, because I have to admit that it's only now really I didn't have a very good skincare routine until I started working with Azio. I was all over the shop.
What were you doing?
Just very basic, using simple wipes, which you shouldn't use.
Shouldn't you?
Which I stopped using them. Just sort of bunging anything that was around, just a moisturiser. I didn't use serums. I didn't use anything specific
from one thing to the next. You'd use a cream and that dry night. You think, what should I get now? It's nice just to have a...
Stick to one thing.
And so many people say, does it work? And I said, well, what do you think? Because it's all I'm using, and I've been using it for the last, since when did I start? October time last year, I think. October time last year. And I said, well, yeah, they do. It's not going to give you a face. I think some women expect.
People do expect it's going to be.
Yeah.
I've completely changed my appearance.
It's not going to do that.
Knock 20 years off me.
No, but I think if you do it in combination with, keeping a check on your diet and moving a little bit, all those things, and staying hydrated, not massive amounts of water, but staying hydrated.
Rosé.
And then using products that are easy.
Yeah.
No, rosé.
Or that chocolate in my case.
I shouldn't have had that last night. And
sleeping. So people often
sleep better now. Yeah, I sleep better now. Since changing my diet, I sleep better.
People
a lot better.
say to me, oh, you look good for your age, blah, blah, blah. We wouldn't have thought you're 51. What's your secret? And I joke, one, I'm really immature. That I think it helps. Two, I'm obsessed with sleep. And I mean obsessed.
So how much sleep do you get a night?
I used to need 10 hours a night. Now it's 9. So it's going down.
I get about 5 or 6.
I'd be dead.
Really? Are you a night owl?
No, I just think it's usually about midnight that I kind of switch off, and then 6, Simon's alarm goes off.
Wow.
But what it's good is you set this bird song, and because when I haven't got my hearing aids and I can't hear birds, I don't actually hear that. But when he gets out of bed, the dog decides to get in, and it's the dog getting in that wakes me up. So between 12 and 6 I sleep, and I'll probably get up once or twice in those 6 hours and wake up with a hot flush, or
oh God, no,
I need a wee, or so it's not like
unbroken.
Yeah,
but
like last night was later because we were chatting for ages. So it's probably about 1 when I went to sleep, and then I woke up in a panic at 7, thinking, "Oh, what's the time? Where am I?" But I'd already got up and had a wee in the night as well. So,
but that's why you can dedicate 11 hours a day to.
That's right.
Whereas I'd be sleeping for those 11 hours. Yeah,
sleep is so important.
It's underrated, and so many people, I think, boast, oh, I only need 3 hours a night. And I'm like, well, this is how I look the way I look, because if I don't get 9 hours, I can barely function. But that's just me.
Do you go to bed really early, or do you just sleep really late?
If I have to be awake the next day, I will do that whole thing with your fingers where you're counting back, how do I get in my 9 hours? And that's all I can think about. I mean, honestly, I think it's verging on
it takes me ages
obsession.
to go to sleep as well.
That can be true as well.
My husband literally puts his head on the pillow. Within 2 breaths, he's asleep.
I'm jealous.
I'm like, how do you do that?
I'm jealous.
Well, perhaps sometimes going to bed a little earlier, because we usually head off at about 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Because I know, because of Phil's condition, he's up in the night, usually by about 3 o'clock, and he doesn't sleep very well. But I'm happy getting up now at about 6, 6:30, so I'm awake at that sort of time. But my sleep is a lot better since altering how I eat and when I eat. And
so what are you doing?
Basically keto.
Okay.
Keto carnivore. And I eat between 11 and 12 in the morning normally. And then in the evening, I eat before 7 o'clock. So I've got a good length of time for my gut balance to rest, and then you get going again. It's not for everybody. I think you have to find your own balance. Some people I know, I follow, is it 50 Sister, Gail?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, she is completely plant-based, but whole food plants. And she eats between 8 and 2, I think it is, every day. So from 2 o'clock in the afternoon, she does not eat again until 8 o'clock the next morning. So you have to find your own balance, but certainly an element of fasting helps.
Yeah,
and you don't feel hungry. It depends what you eat, and you don't feel hungry. So you get into a balance, but it definitely has helped my sleep and my tummy.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got to find whatever works for you. I'm a little and often. I think I'm a grazer.
It's no good for you.
It might not be, but it just seems to work for me.
What works for you?
If I go 2 hours without food, I'm already going, all right, can somebody bring me some food? I don't tend to eat
before 11 or 12. Like I didn't eat any breakfast today.
It's the first thing I do.
I couldn't get out of bed and think of anything worse than having to eat something.
Wow.
So I've not had anything yet today. And then, so I'll maybe then have something, I don't know, hard-boiled eggs or a banana. And it's not a weight thing, it's just the kind of thing. I'm quite, when you go on these holidays and they put the meat and the cheese up for breakfast. I'm that sort of person. Whereas my husband's like, that's not breakfast. I mean, for me, I could eat a pickled herring and some beetroot for 11 o'clock and be happy. And then I try to eat before 6 because the same, I think, that going to bed with that. But I do love eating out. And if we're going out and someone says I booked a table for 8:30, I do think, oh, but I'll go because I love food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but you're mindful probably what you eat and how much you eat. But I'm definitely a firm believer, whatever it is that you find that suits you. I'm a firm believer in trying to eat. Say, I want to eat healthily. What does that mean? To me, it means cutting out processed foods. I try and look at things that are just one ingredient. So your whole foods. Yeah. Eggs are fantastic. Yeah. Carbohydrates have no nutritional value. They're very nice, but if you can cut them out, the more you cut them out, the easier it is to cut them out. And I think just freeing yourself from processed foods and sugar. Yeah, I think it's definitely kill or cure. And I think the modern lifestyle and the modern diet, and by modern, I mean the last 80 years with agriculture and food, has slowly, if you look at the incidences of cancers and diabetes and Alzheimer's and ADHD and autism, I think it's linked with some of the rubbish that they use in foods to bulk it out. And they don't care about health. It's all about profits. So I think if you're mindful, it's just, I always think, just have an inquiring mind. Yeah. Think about things a little bit more, because it's better than having to take pills or have operations.
Prevention is better than cure. Yeah. And all of that.
Yeah. I honestly do believe it. But then it's genetics as well. My parents are, 90 and 88 and But then they did eat well because their parents cooked from scratch. They were wartime kids.
Proper cooking.
Yeah. And when I was little, I never ate lasagna or garlic bread. It's a bit like a Peter cake, garlic and bread.
Garlic bread.
But we didn't. We had meat and 2 veg, shepherd's pie, liver and onions. Mum would make from scratch ginger pud or a steamed pudding with a bit of homemade custard.
Exactly
you knew what was going in your
So it was very much that sort of, and we didn't snack. We didn't have chocolates. We didn't really often eat crisps.
Addicted.
I remember going to friends' houses after school, when you're going up your play date, and they'd have this big box of Golden Wonder crisps by the door, and you could just have a bag. And I was like, oh, this is so exciting. She's like, don't tell me for tea and I can have crisps. Yeah. And I remember my mum buying the toaster, when toasters first came out. Yeah. It was the brown Harvest toaster with the ears of corn on it. And we sat round and put white bread in the toaster with butter.
Decadent.
Just like this.
Yeah. Look at us.
It's a real treat.
Yeah.
But my mum used to make everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's so sad, but it's so difficult because so many people are so addicted. And if you've got an addictive personality, and heck, I know I like my glasses of wine, and it's really difficult for me to not have a glass of wine.
But, I don't think I've got an addictive personality, but chocolate is my weakness.
Is it?
Can you just have one piece?
Yes. So I'm pretty good at having, say, 2 pieces.
So you've got control.
I've got control, but every day I have chocolate almost every day.
What about biscuit? You see, if I had one biscuit,
not biscuits.
Packet.
I'm definitely savoury.
Oh yeah, it's crisps.
But then my husband will come home and go, look what I've got. And he'll bring out this big bar of Galaxy. And I'm like, oh, please don't. I say, just bring me the one line of 4 and leave the rest in the kitchen. He'll go, and he'll come in and just put it down there. And then I look down and we've eaten the whole bar.
But for me, it's dark chocolate. So I'm kidding myself that's a little bit better for you. That's what I'm telling myself. It's sticking to it.
Oh, it is. And you can't eat as much of it, can you? It's quite
richer.
Oily, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I could do without anything sweet like that.
I'm so jealous.
I do love bread, though. Do love a good bread. Good butter. Like, I'm not a thin butter spreader. I'm a big slab.
Whack it on with a trowel.
Yeah.
Butter's good. I love butter.
And it's funny because I used to always buy the low-fat stuff. I'd always buy the low-fat milk and the low-fat yogurt. Yeah. And my husband said, you shouldn't be doing that. So we now have full-fat milk. I get the full-fat cheese. And he said, because they're better fats for you.
Yeah, they're better. Well, because of my the endometriosis, I have a problem with my bones absorbing calcium. So actually the full-fat stuff, far from being the worst thing I could eat, it's actually much better for me.
Well, when you take your supplements, you should take it when you're eating the fat.
Yes.
Because it does help with absorption. And I think this is what people are quite shocked at. But I come from an era when my mum in the 80s, followed Weight Watchers.
Yes, so did mine.
And when I went to college, we used to eat Ryvita with cottage cheese on.
Yes, very popular.
I still love that though.
Yeah,
but we
so
all lost weight, didn't we? But it wasn't sustainable because we were all bloody starving all the time. But you got into the mentality, you can't have fat.
Yeah, fat is bad.
And that's completely wrong. And again, it was profits. It was
See, I
profits.
think I definitely, my mum says I was anorexic. I don't think I was, but I went through this quite a long stage when I was probably about 20 and maybe a little bit older than 20. And I'd had, in fact, the girl's dad now, but he was a boyfriend at the time. I went to see his family and his dad said, "Oh, you're looking a bit chunky." What? And I thought to myself, am I? I'd never thought of dieting. I'd never really even looked at myself.
And what size were you?
12, 10, big 10. Don't know. I didn't really know.
Big,
and I remember thinking, am I? I went away from that meeting that day and thought, Christ, tried some trousers. I thought, yeah, they're a bit tight. And I went on this mad crash diet and literally went from, I must have lost about 1.5 stones in about a month. And people started saying, wow, you look amazing.
And then I thought,
wow, I must look amazing. So then I was literally eating a Ryvita, an apple. I was taking laxatives. I was nearly collapsing at work. I was swimming in my lunch break, walking everywhere, not eating, not going anywhere, not cooking, feeling rubbish, being sick. And then I remember going to my mum's for Christmas and I had got this real pain in my eye. And I actually had sinusitis, but she said to me at that point, there's something really bad going on here. And I think it was just that I'd lost it all and everyone was like, you look great. And it wasn't really so much the control. It was more like I must have looked really bad before.
Yeah, and I didn't realise.
So then
and the
I ruined my
impact of that one comment.
One comment.
Some
thoughtless.
From a man.
And I'm sure he still does that sort of thing because Molly said, my daughter said, that he'd said something, or someone in the family said something similar to her. And it's so damaging because my eldest daughter is very small. She's probably a size 6. She's getting married and she's really now zoning in on that. I'm not having that to eat. I'm going to just have that for my lunch. And I'm just thinking, and I don't want to say to her, you've lost loads of weight because I don't want that to be an encouraging thing.
Yeah.
And then when I sat with Molly yesterday when we were having that food, she said, Edie's tiny. And I said, I know she's tiny. I said, but she was always the tiny one.
Yeah.
And Molly said, I just love food. She said, the bridesmaid's dress is quite a clingy number. And she said, I feel really self-conscious here. She said, but unless I lose 1 stone by September, I'm going to look like that. And she said, but I don't want to go on a diet. I'm swimming. I'm like my food. And I said, if you ask most men, I might be wrong here, they like to see a woman with a bit of shape. They don't really like
tiny.
And I said to her, does Robbie really love the way you look? And she said, oh yeah, he wouldn't want me to change. She said, I just feel really
self-conscious. That's the one thing.
And all of the friends that are going on this trip
it's
are all
pre-programmed, isn't it? Almost, and especially if you've got members of the family saying things and they don't realise it's just a glib comment because if it's something to say.
Yeah,
and also I think it affected my eating right until this day because when you then don't eat anything and you lose that weight, you do have to eat.
Yeah,
unless you become really poorly, and you don't, but. I did, and I got better, but then I was reading labels and buying, that's when I was into buy these low-fat ready meals that I know what's in it and put it in the microwave and I'm just going to have that. And then when we moved 4 years ago, I said to Simon, right, I'm not working in the restaurant anymore. I can eat at proper times. I'm going to cut out all that processed stuff. I'm just going to cook good food.
Yeah.
And I probably have put on, since I moved, only 0.5 stone. I've been there 4 years.
Wow.
I don't feel at my best, but I do think I'm okay with my clothes on, is what I think.
Yeah.
And I feel so much better
bikinis.
now.
Yeah,
eating good food and I don't really restrict myself that much. Sometimes if I've had a bad day, I think, oh, yeah, I've eaten loads of really bad stuff and I feel really, I'll have a couple of days of being good, but nowhere near like I was. But just so dangerous for people, what people can say.
I was always very lucky because I was always quite naturally slim and I didn't really have to watch what I ate. But the HRT, the one side effect, increased appetite. So before I would stop in the middle of eating a plate full of food and go, I'm full. That's all gone. I will more or less eat what's on the plate now. So, and I've never had that before. So that, that only happened 10 years ago, and I put some weight on my middle. But then there's that dichotomy where I go, well, I'm not 25 anymore. So does it really matter?
See, I was also brought up that you ate what's on your plate and you don't leave anything.
Like my parents.
And my nan was the same with my mum. And my mum ended up seeing a hypnotherapist because my mum would eat everything on a plate. Then she'd eat what we didn't eat as children. And then she would eat the leftovers from whoever was there because she didn't want to waste it. And then I was like, I have to eat everything. And I still have that mentality of like, I can't bear the waste. And even if I put it in a Tupperware and put it in the fridge, I still think that has to be eaten because I'm not going to throw it away. So I have to give myself a smaller amount because I know if I put the big amount, I'll still eat it all. Yeah. And then I'll moan all night going, oh, I've eaten too much food.
That food baby.
Just don't like the waste thing.
No, it's definitely a mentality thing, isn't it? Were you going to say similar?
I'm just saying that if with going on HRT, if that is a side effect, it's just a little tweak on what you're eating. Because I think if you eat more fats and proteins,
tweaking.
If you eat more fats and proteins, you are more satiated. It's an absolute fact.
Yeah.
And because I've tested all sorts of things out myself. I've been vegan and vegetarian. Vegetarian was the worst for me.
I've been veggies.
I went veggie when I was seeing a guy when I was about 23. And I went into that relationship at 8.5 stone, feeling fine, blah, blah, blah. But he ate an awful lot of cheese, a lot of curries and a lot of cheese. And I tanked it on. So vegetarian it depends at what you eat and how you eat. Yeah. And it's just, I've just proved that fat doesn't make you fat. Eating fat actually loses the weight and you're fuller for longer. So you don't get that panic about I need to eat. Because again, we were also brought up 3 meals a day. You had your breakfast and you have a decent breakfast and you have your oats for breakfast, which is the worst thing you can have for breakfast. Toast. And then you have your lunch and then you have your supper, tea time, whatever.
Whatever you call it, dinner.
And then usually we used to eat at about 5 o'clock, I think. So people would then have a little snack in the evening.
That's me.
Yeah. So it's a difficult pattern
it is
to get out of. But I think when we do get older, I think we do have to address what we're eating and how much we're moving.
Yes.
Movement doesn't equal weight loss. If that's what you're after, it's what you consume that equals the weight loss. And then your movement is to keep you strong. Because as women, I think what I've learned from Zana, you do need to do some weights if you can. Walking's brilliant. Running's brilliant, but because we lose bone density, we lose muscle mass over the age of 35 and 40. So you need to put that, you don't realise it's happening. So it's all very well and good losing the weight and being slim, if that's what you want. But really, it's about being strong as well. And it's not going to a gym and working out for an hour. Okay. It's doing quick sessions, but getting some weights in. And you can lift, believe you me, you can lift a lot more than you think you can. Oh. I never used to lift heavy enough.
Well, now I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I definitely need to be finding some weights.
Quick workouts, and it just fires up your body. And then you may find that your eating pattern changes, because as soon as you eat, it doesn't matter whether you eat a small meal or a big meal or one piece of chocolate, the whole body moves into the digestive process. All your enzymes, all your juices start flowing, expecting food. Yeah. So therefore you can understand fairly shortly afterwards why your body's going, oi, I didn't really get much there. But again, just do research and find what suits you. I get exasperated with people who haven't got an inquiring mind. If they're feeling bad,
do something about it.
What is it? Or can you rectify it? Is it a pill from a doctor? Or could it be something that you're eating? Or could it be how much you're moving? Or could it be the air that you're breathing? Are you getting outside enough and enough vitamin D?
And are you doing things that make you happy? Because especially as you get older, if you don't know yourself and
stress is awful.
And know what makes you happy and what gives you a bit of a buzz, then, you know, you're not doing very well.
There's days when I'm indoors all day and my husband says, I'm going to go walk there again. And I'll say, I'm going to come. And he say, are you busy? I went, yeah, but I'm just going to come because I've been doing this all day. And I go out and I come back and think, I'm so glad I did that. Just to go out and just go for that dog walk. Just to go somewhere that you love to see the view, or just to talk about something different for half an hour, or not talk at all. It just makes all the difference.
You can take your hearing aids out and just not talk to anybody.
Exactly.
And what makes you happy?
What makes me happy?
Yeah, what makes you happy?
Oh, my goodness me.
And is it different to what it was when you were younger?
Yes. Oh, I think so. When I was younger, it was riding horses and going out, dance. I love dancing. I don't do it that often because I've got a bit of a dicky knee, and dancing affects it, unfortunately. But I love a good dance. I'll dance around the kitchen. I like listening to music. I like listening to podcasts. I like obviously doing my Instagram. I used to love skiing, but I can't really do that too well. So very, very simple things. I have a very simple little life in a lot of ways because I spend an awful lot of time, and I'm very lucky to live in a lovely house in the countryside. I'd like to mix it up a little bit more. This is why coming to London yesterday, it's just such fun because it's so different, and I need to do more of it. And I feel I need to get out more with my daughter. But we went to the cinema a couple of weekends ago, bit of shopping. Need to do more because we tend to fall into our little insular lives doing our things. And I feel that we need to get out a little bit more, get out of ourselves.
Especially if you work from home.
Yeah. But I'm basically from day to day, I don't feel stressed. Apart from sometimes you put pressure on yourself because there's things I want to do around the home. Boring stuff that I put off, but it needs doing.
Right.
And I'm terrible
for
doing that. But and I've got a room that needs clearing out, and I need to sort some clothes out and things. And it's nothing horrendous, but it kind of sits there like a little fog above your head.
You must do me.
It's still not done, Helen.
Yeah.
So I need to lighten up and relax into the next phase because I'm going to be 55, which I think is another little milestone.
Okay, are you celebrating? What are you going to do?
I don't know what we'll do. I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered about big parties or anything. I usually see my friends when we have birthdays. My friends get together just for a meal. Very simple. Yeah. It doesn't take much to make me happy. Yeah. I'm fairly even-tempered, fairly easygoing. Yeah, fairly easygoing. And just being around home, going out, having a walk around with the dogs, cuddling peanuts. Very, very, very simple stuff. People think we have these exotic lifestyles.
Yeah, very glamorous, always on a yacht in the Seychelles or somewhere.
Absolutely not. But one thing that is good for Instagram, and I noticed it particularly, it helped me through when my husband was in hospital and very poorly because of the community spirit and the support I got. Because sometimes you feel the love from people that you've never met. And it's really powerful. And also it helped through the ridiculous lockdowns and all that business because it was connection. It was actually connecting you. You still felt like you were connected to a world out there. So I think it's really powerful. I think now we're through all that. I feel a little bit like I'm too reliant on it.
Okay.
And I sometimes have to tell myself, I think you do really well doing it so much every day. And it kind of fits in with your lifestyle. I sometimes think it's quite powerful and important just to take a step back and have a day or two off or a little bit of a break if you need it, and then come back with a bit more vim and vigour.
Because I guess the only person putting pressure on you to do it every day is yourself.
Yes. And that's counterproductive in my view, because then I feel a little bit too much stress. Yeah. And I think stress is one of the worst things in modern life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing like the pressure of expectation, even if it's your own. And sometimes it's hard to separate society's pressure from your own pressure. Yeah. Like I said, when I was 35 and it hit me and I was like, hang on a minute, who's putting this pressure on me? Me.
Just you, yeah.
So Yeah, it's a tough one.
And I think I'm sometimes someone who just likes to say yes a lot.
Okay.
So if someone will say, if I get this product to you, can you do it by the end of tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm thinking, why did I say yeah? I should have said no. I need a bit longer to do that.
Yeah.
But then in my head, I'm thinking, if I do it, then that's one thing I've done. I'm a bit of a list person. I like to have work through things.
Do you have to write them down? Have you
Yeah.
got,
Oh, yes.
I can't do anything on my phone.
I have a proper diary.
Yeah.
And
I have 2 diaries.
Say other paper diary.
Plain paper, lined paper.
Yeah.
A book for this, a book for that.
Yeah.
So sometimes I say yes when I should just say, I need a bit more time than that.
And do you think that's people pleasing or bad diary management?
People pleasing. People pleasing.
It is people pleasing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But then that makes me happy when I've done it, because I think, and they're really happy because they've got something they wanted really quickly.
Yeah.
It's relatively easy to do, isn't it? Now we're at a stage where you've got your sort of professional head on, and they say, yeah, I can do that, no problem. Yeah. Or with certain products, if it's tanning products or something like I've got coming up, it's like, well, you have to wait until I'm a bit paler. Otherwise I can't do it before and after. So it's getting it all straight in your own mind. But I have to copious lists. And I have a work diary and a week to view my diary for home and Nancy and Phil and whatever we're doing family. And then I have the business diary with jobs that I've got coming up, or just sort of ideas, or I'll jot things down for an idea.
Like memos,
about I could do a feature on linen, or I could do a feature on new jean shape, or a shoe, or something that has caught my attention. I'm not very good at there's I don't know what you don't do it, do you? Is it the like to know it?
No, I don't do that.
No, I hate it. What's with that? A passion. It's an app, isn't it? Because originally I started out by thinking it's a bit presumptuous to put all your clothing on there as if anybody else is going to want to buy it.
Well, that's how I feel.
Because I think as well, if people are going to look at something, they want to be able to just read it. They don't want to have to go to my like to know it page to see my outfit.
Oh, okay.
Because they might not be
that interested,
or have the time,
they might not
know how to work it, or
I can never work it. Yeah, so you put on a caption, they'll put look, view my outfit, or link to buy my outfit on the like to know it.
Right.
And I'm not very good at finding those like to know it's. And fair enough, I suppose if Emma Hill or someone is wearing a complete outfit and you think, oh, I love that, and you go and you can find exactly that item there. I mean, we can do it on stories. You can link it on stories in exactly the same way. Yeah. It's I just think it's a little bit you almost read it and go, well, no, I'm not going to go to your like to know it. I don't want to do it. Actually, no. And so many people have said to me, or they say, do you use it? And I'll say, no, I really don't like it. I really don't like it. So it is funny how different people work in different ways.
It'd be a very boring world if they all worked in the same way.
That's true.
But I feel we're quite chilled out. There are some people out there that are very businesslike, very businesslike about it, that like walk over anyone to get what they want. Right. And there's definitely accounts out there that are like that.
So I'm a psychometric profiler, and it's funny because the minute you said that, I'm like, well, they're a driver. And when you said about the people pleasing, it's often it's a characteristic of one personality type called an amiable, and they just hate saying no, and they'll often take on way more than they can deal with because they can't. Yeah. They're the people that you would normally go, oh, she's so lovely, such a sweet woman. You can guarantee there's a chunk of amiable in them, but that very often have a hard time with assertiveness. So I wonder, I think I've become more assertive the older I've got, but maybe that's not the case for you.
I've learnt more how to say no fairly recently, actually.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I do say no if it's something that I don't agree with, or I don't think it would suit me, or I don't want to do it. But but with the people that I do like, if they want something quicker than I can do, I'd still go, okay. And then I think, oh God.
Yeah.
Because I just want to do it for them.
Yeah. And you're thinking more of them than of yourself, I guess. Yeah, I seem to do a lot of testimonials for things like turmeric brands and lots of collagen brands, and less of the beauty and fashion and more of the
Health and well-being.
Health and well-being.
Oh, it's big though. It's big.
Yeah, well, the turmeric one I love. I'm glugging it down at the moment.
Yes,
so
it's supposed to be really good, and really good if you've got high blood pressure as well.
It's full of pepper, and I remember doing a job in India, and you talked about sinuses. I had really bad sinuses, and they give you a chai drink with tons of pepper in it, and it would blow your head off.
Yeah,
but it felt lovely and comforting. And
there's cayenne pepper and turmeric, a really little powerful. I'm kind of trying to get Nancy onto cayenne pepper, because apparently if you take it in warm water in the morning, it helps with period cramps. And
is she going through all of that at the moment?
She's horrendous. Yeah.
But this is back on the subject of endometriosis and fibroids and stuff. If I'd have known that my period pain wasn't normal 30 years ago,
yes,
you could have dealt with it earlier.
I think we're going to get into the crunch point where. But I'm really fearful that they just turn around and say, oh, well, go on the pill or whatever, because she doesn't want to do that. And I'd prefer to try and other avenues before just medicating.
But as long as it gets investigated, because you never know. Yeah. I had nobody to compare myself to. My mum had hysterectomy at 32 because of endometriosis. So she hasn't had periods for years. So I had nobody to compare myself to. Didn't speak to friends about it. I just thought it was absolutely normal to be doubled over in pain crying. Didn't think anything of it. And then had no idea that, 30 years later, I'd be, properly doubled over. If only I'd have known then what I know now. And I say to some of the girls I work with, just talk to people about your periods or the pain, or don't assume it's normal. What would you tell your younger self? What would you tell your younger self that you know now?
Oh gosh.
Oh, I know it's a meaty question.
It would probably be, don't shy away from what you want to do and try a little bit harder, because when I was younger, instead of going on to uni to do fashion, I was hooked up with a boyfriend. Right. I was with him for 6 years, but he was my first boyfriend. I would probably have words with myself about that.
Right.
About,
Actually, I probably would do the same, because I went to and studied art, and I was in my final year, and I'd specialised in ceramics.
Oh,
and I had a boyfriend.
I can imagine you doing fantastic ceramics.
And I remember my art teacher at school saying, you should be doing ceramics. So I specialised in ceramics, and in my final show, every single piece I'd made, someone bought the whole lot.
Wow.
And I was so naive. I didn't take her name. I didn't know where they were going. She just gave me this money and she took my stuff, and I was like, yay. And my mum said, you really need to go on now to uni and do this. And I said, I'm going to have a year out, because I got this boyfriend and we wanted to go and live in a squat in London and go to all these festivals. And I never went back. And I think, what would I have done with that if I'd have carried on?
So you'd go back and say,
I'd go back.
You need to go back and do ceramics.
And do the ceramics, probably, because it might have gone on to jewellery making. I was making big bowls, but it could have, and I was making them so fine that you could see through them. And then I was laying glass at the bottom, and I'm thinking I could have gone into the jewellery thing. So maybe I'd have done that.
But could you still do it?
Possibly. My mum still says, don't think like that, because you could do it. But
you could still do it if you had time.
If I had time, yeah. And then I suppose I think, I don't know how I'd even begin to do that all again. And I'm so busy.
Yeah, that's the
bit. Well, you'd have to have a studio.
Yeah,
I think I have a kiln.
Yeah, I think I would have gone back to listening to what my mum said, but I wouldn't tell her that.
We never do.
Because she says your mother's always right. Always. She knows best.
But it comes good in the end. And I think, even if it has taken a bloody long time.
It comes full circle. Like you've stayed in styling, but just in different formations.
I think, if I'd carried on doing more of the creative side of things, I would have had more of a creative vocation, because I just sort of stumbled across being in finance through working at a building society and then getting my qualifications. But it was very dry. It wasn't really me. I don't particularly like admin. So I spent a large proportion of my life just, living to work, and it was
weekends
and the usual, having the odd holiday, but not really having an amazing time. Well, not a bad time, but not an amazing time. And I think I could have expanded my horizons a little bit more. But having said that, I'm very happy where I've sort of ended up really now.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't
I don't
matter
have a
about
bad
the journey. Maybe it's...
in the end.
Well, we wouldn't probably have ended up with the people that we're with. And
No, that's true.
No. And things happen. I always try and say to myself, things do happen for a reason, because there's a lot of coincidences that have overlapped that have meant that I met my husband because I've been married before, and lots of little coincidences and little that it just overlaps.
Maybe you get where you're meant to be.
And I think
somehow.
if I hadn't have gone for that coffee with that person that day and she hadn't said those words, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yes. Fate.
Fate and serendipity. And
but don't give up.
And the journey's not over.
Whatever your dreams are, don't give up.
Absolutely.
Don't give up. And if your dream is to just have a bash at running Instagram because you think it looks fun, it is fun. So have a bash, do it. Yeah. You're not hurting anyone, and you're not going to lose anything.
No, that's a very good point.
It doesn't cost.
It's not like there's any outlay.
It's not like they say, well, if you want to become an influencer or a creator, you've got to pay £2,000 or £5,000.
Which people think with modelling, they think, oh, you've got to have a portfolio for £2,000. And I'm like, no, don't do that.
No.
That's a scam.
Yes.
So it's absolutely whatever you feel. If you're in your 50s and you feel like you could model, and I've said to this one, I mean, both of you.
If it's what you want to do, you might. If you don't feel the need and you don't want to be taken away from your family too much, But whatever, have a think about it and have a go. We'll never lose your honesty and your openness, and hopefully, this podcast will always be a safe space where we can use rude words like the one which was brilliant, and we can talk about big pants.
Say it again.
Yeah.
It's a new one for me.
It was a new one for me too.
I'll show it when we finish filming.
So I don't know if I meant to do a wrapping up, but I'd like to thank...
It's a wrap.
I'd like to thank both of you so much for joining and making our first podcast so lovely and so easy for me.
What a lovely way to spend a couple of hours.
I'm glad to hear it.